I've been called too loud, too tall, too extrovert, too much talking, too opinionated. I've been called too big, too happy, too energetic, too sharing, too emotional. Yeah. Too intense. I had just remembered something, and it's very funny because it comes back. It comes all back when you really start thinking about it. I just remembered another situation where I was called to intense, where I was performing a song. And like, I think I put a live version up or anything like this, and a family member would say to me it was too dramatic. My face, I would always pull those faces, so those kind of emotional, that kind of, quite, dramatic or intense faces. And I was called too intense and too dramatic, and I should, do more training in front of the mirror and see kind of what faces I do when I sing. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I just remembered that. This is really crazy.
And how did that make you feel?
That was awful. That was awful. And it kind of, because I just remembered this, it kind of, I really feel that intense feeling of sitting there and not being accepted for who I am. Yeah, I especially from, to be honest, especially from some people who can't be emotional, or who maybe really want to be emotional from time to time, and then they call you too dramatic because they can't express any emotions, and I do it too much. What the fuck? Yeah.
So what kind of faces are they talking about? And how is that actually your power? I mean, to me that sounds amazing.
So basically, I used to, when I started, I'm an artist and a musician, and so when I started doing music, I would love to sing ballads, and I would love to sing slow music because I play the piano, and because I have a very loud voice, I just when I sing, I go from very loud to very little, and I'm very dynamic because I have a lot to say, and I have a lot of emotions which I really, really want to, which all can, lucky me, can come out through this art I'm doing. And so, when I sing, I close my eyes, I open my eyes, I do a lot of head movements, and I do a lot of I'm in pain faces, and kind of sometimes weeping, and those weeping kind of faces, because that's how I feel. And and then and then I was told that that was too dramatic, or too kind of too much for people to stand. And I'm like, you're just one person, and you're saying this, and the impact you have on me by saying this. And why would you want me to hear this? Why would you want me to act whilst I'm doing raw art? Why is this? And so, I listened to that for I listened to that, and I kind of inhaled it, and you know, you take those things in and you think about them. And I literally thought about them. I literally stood in front of the mirror and I'm like, maybe I should, you know, pull less faces or something like this. And then, yeah, and I think in the last 2 years I started to putting all those too much characteristics, what people would call me too much, into my power. Because as a performer, it's amazing to be tall on stage, because you're seen, you know, you have this attribute, is that an English word, and which is already a form of power, being tall and too loud. This is amazing as a singer, you know, having a strong voice, and being able to communicate, being emotional, being dramatic. All those things are a power in music. And yes, and especially the sharing your opinion too much, or, you know, being opinionated. That's something which is strength and power within the music industry and within art generally. You know, somebody who paints and who doesn't have to say, can't say anything because they don't feel like they can share their opinion. I'm not sure if their craft will be, you know, saying anything to other people. And if I you know, express myself in this certain way, I think now that people get me because I'm using my power, rather than, you know, for a couple of years thinking that I should do this or this or this, you know. Yeah.
And how does it feel now when you're doing it?
Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good. Like I'm standing taller, and I'm walking in a room taller, because I feel like I've got this power. And I think this was the most important bit for me, that I know now I'm meant to do this because of all these attributes and characteristics, because people have been calling me this. What they actually kind of meant is, you know, you are an artist, you are someone who is supposed to be doing something where all this fits in. So when somebody tells me, you know, you're too loud in a certain work environment, that really wouldn't work. You know, if I would be in an office with a lot of people and I would just talk loud and laugh loud, and, you know, it would really disrupt them in their workflow. But, you know, they were actually really saying that I need to be in an environment where, you know, where all this just fits in naturally, and where I'm just myself. By saying this, I don't mean that someone has a loud voice and a loud laugh shouldn't be working anywhere. It should be actually, you know, accepted and embraced, rather than, but, you know, I'm aware of that it can disrupt people, or yeah. But now it feels great, because I feel like I'm that, you know, we talked about this at another point, where I felt like when I actually started putting all this into power, that I actually felt like I started having wings and I could fly. And it means so many people are flying already, right? They're flying since they're 15, because they know that what they want to be and what they want to do, and they stick to this route. But when you call too much, you're like walking on your path, and you're boom, boom, boom. You're always like getting hit into like a certain direction, where it's like, when I'm called this too much, you're feeling like, oh, okay, let me maybe like walk this other path for a while, or maybe like, oh, should I maybe try to like, and I couldn't do that. Like I was always like, oh, bounce back, and then I was on this thing. But the thing is, you then walk on your path, and you're not quite sure if you're supposed to be there, because you've got all those comments. And so, yeah, and then finally, you know, I think I'm at a point where I can stand tall most of the time, or half of the time, which is a great success.
Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, so I mean, we kind of we talked. Yeah, that is your power. And like, are there any more stories you want to talk about, or do you want to just sing and be powerful for a bit? What do you feel like?
I think that one thing I want to talk about, because we said this earlier. So basically, when I didn't always have, you know, a massively powerful voice. I always was this powerful and energetic human being, but I didn't always, sing powerful because I think until a certain point, being so loud as a singer, like to put my character and to put my intensity into singing, that wasn't given to me, I guess, like directly. But we talked about this, that I think something saved me as a person, which was joining a gospel choir in the age of, I don't know, I think I was 15. And when I joined, like, it was so funny because I was expressing myself in the loudest way possible. If I would have, joined a classical choir or, I don't know, any other choir, I would have stood out and it would be like, oh, your voice is a bit too loud or something. But then I joined this gospel choir and I was like, yeah, my first solo, I remember it was literally me screaming and everybody, it's like the call and response thing. And I would be la la la, and then the choir would like respond to me. And like, I literally had the job to, shout and scream and be loud. And I would stood in the back because that's where you stand in a choir when you're tall. But people would still see me because I was so tall, and people would still hear me. Even I didn't wear a microphone. And literally me not needing microphone, that was my power at weddings, at, everything where yeah, I was then singing all the soli and got, to, help people in my section or anything like this. And this quirkiness, this stage presence and all this became then my power, and that I think saved me as a person, because I think I wouldn't have necessarily embraced that character of mine if I wouldn't have that, where people embrace that, because there were too many people who were against that at school. There were too many people at school who were against that. And so I was very lucky to have something beside the school which said, go for it, do it, be yourself. Yeah.
And was it just teachers, or was it kids as well? Or?
Yes, absolutely. Everyone around me. It's like this whole thing of being opinionated and putting your hand up too much in class, like saying too much, and this whole thing, what we said earlier, talking too much and not saying anything. It's like, would you rather me not putting my hand up at all and not participating? Like, no extremes are supported. Like, that society doesn't support people who are extremely into a certain topic, or extremely, extremely intelligent. Even extremely intelligent people are kind of like geeks. They're called geeks. Why do we call them geeks? Like, just because they're really passionate about something? Like, what is that? And people who are too small or too tall. And at school, for me, talking too much and being too out there and wanting to express myself was judged by the teachers. Even they kind of liked me. I know that they liked me, but some of them, I knew that it would make them smile that I put my hand up again, or and from other students, mostly because I know that now, mostly because they were admiring me being extrovert, because as a school kid you're mostly the introvert. When I was at school in the beginning, like everybody else had a crush on a boy, and it was fine. Me having a crush on a boy, it was not fine because they were smaller than me. So basically me saying like, oh, I really like this boy, it's like, yeah, nothing's ever gonna happen because he's smaller than you. Like, nothing's ever gonna evolve out of this. And then I was always super, super skinny because I was growing so fast. And then when I stopped growing, and when I kind of started having, personal issues or anything like this, and I started getting, bigger. I was never fat or big or anything like this because I'm way too tall to, eat so much. But my mom would come around and like grab me here and be like, oh, look at this, would touch me somewhere and be like, oh, what, you see where your chocolate is going to, and like, yes, and when you're like 17 or 16, like those things are so engraved in you that, yes, taking up too much space, like being big in a room was like, you do this quite a lot. And you like tuck your hip in or something like this to like be smaller or something like this. Yeah. Taking up too much space, but also taking up too much, physical space, but also like non-physical space, like taking too much space away in like, people's lives because you feel so big and tall and stuff like that. You just kind of want to take yourself back, and because you feel like you're too much for people as an entire person. And also now, choosing jobs where this is getting embraced, and leading a gospel choir now where I need to be loud, otherwise 60 people won't hear me. And it's so funny, the other day at a concert, a woman was saying like, your conducting is the most amazing conducting I've ever seen. It's just because I'm so tall, so when I move my hands, it is so big that everybody can see it in the choir, and that the entire audience can see my hands moving, because I'm so tall, and I like moving, and I like moving big, and yeah, now it's this whole thing of I need to be that. It's not just that I want to be this. No, I need to be all those things where I used to be called too much for. I need to be those things to be able to be successful in what I do. Yeah. It's so funny because just a second ago I was thinking I'm too happy in this interview. Like, I'm just like talking about all those positive things, and like I was literally thinking I'm too positive because isn't this like a really awful topic to talk about, that I've been called all those things, and shouldn't I be, more emotional and blah, blah. I literally just caught myself thinking I'm too positive, which is ridiculous. Yeah, so no, I'm not like that all the time. I am sometimes, sometimes I think that, I sometimes am standing somewhere and I'm like, I'm too opinionated about this, and I'm standing somewhere and thinking, I shouldn't have said that, or I should have had a different voice. Oh, a lot of times I'm thinking like, oh, if I could, just sing like, this, or I would have that voice or something like this, and then the other day, when I'm in the studio or something and somebody tells me, oh, can you sing that a bit softer? And it's for a pitch or anything like this, so it doesn't necessarily has to be me as an artist, but, just someone saying that to me, I'm like, oh, Lord, I am too loud. And you catching yourself. So most of the time, I'm super positive about all those things now, because I feel like I've literally been giving gifts. I feel like I'm taking this in as a gift and as a power now, but not at all times. Not at all times. There are so many times still with certain people around me who I'm taller as, and this is most of the time, 99%, I don't know, maybe not 99, 90% of the time it is fine and I'm happy, but so many times I stand next to people and I'm like, squirking down or something like this, and trying to like match someone else or anything like this, and thinking, why am I so tall? Like, why could I not be 5 centimeters smaller? Yeah. Yeah. And why am I, hi, are you playing volleyball or basketball?
Oh my God, yes.
But that's the thing. And then I'm saying, sorry, I did the other direction and I did like music. And they're like, you're like, what? You know what I mean? Like, this is, was the wrong answer for you, And it's like, sorry. And then you feel like super awkward. And it's like, why did we even start this conversation? Yes, because you thought I'm too tall, or I'm more taller than others, or, yeah, and the whole, people who are very tall go in the back. Of course, we are kind of shadowing other people, but, we are literally people in the back who are also, outside of norm of clothing and then the whole thing of having a smaller boyfriend. Like, what is that? That's getting judged and thought about, and, papers write about it because it's a great topic to write about. What the freaking fuck? I am not too much of a person. I am not too loud. I'm not too tall. Why have all those people have been calling me too much? Oh, this is fucking hard. Yeah, yeah. Hello, younger Nina. I wish you could cry from time to time when people would have called you too much of something, because what you did was shoving it in a bag and putting it away for years. I wish I could tell you now that it's your power, and that one day all this, what you are too much of, will be, what you are meant to do in life. So just keep on believing that this is part of you, and don't put it on your skin, on your, on your surface, and carry it. No, make it part of your heart and make it part of your soul, that you are that person, and don't be shy about it. Yeah, that's it. Oh, I love you so much.